I paid for my fiancée's wedding, life, and luxury, then found out I was just her backup plan while she cheated with a married man. So I exposed her with receipts she never saw coming and destroyed her. I grew up as the ugly kid in elementary, middle, high school, and college. And not just the fat with glasses ugly. I mean the extreme overbite, wrinkles, teeth missing, raccoon eye bags, obese type of ugly. And it's for this reason that I had my first kiss at 30 years old. It was with Lucia, the love of my life. When I first caught her looking at me, I could have sworn it was because there was something on my face, because she was beautiful in every way. But mostly she treated me like I was normal. And that was everything. And she told me I was her first time for everything too. It really felt like we were a match made in heaven. So I insisted on paying for the wedding, and even told her she could cut her hours down by half at work, because I would send money to make up for it. And of course, she was all for it, because all her friends and family loved me too. So one night, we were at her place with her friend Naomi just hanging out. I had made us all Aperol spritzes, her favorite. So it's safe to say they were buzzed. Meanwhile, I stayed sober to make sure I could take care of her if anything happened. We were all on the topic of godparents, and Naomi promised that when we had a child, she'd do anything for it. So she was the best pick. That's when she said it, the phrase that turned my life upside down. Plus, Mike, you work so hard, you need to have a parental safety net. Nausea crept in before I could stop it. Because my name isn't Mike, but then I smelled the alcohol on her breath and was reminded of how drunk she was. I was literally just about to make a joke about it until she continued. Lucia told me you have a huge operation coming up. It must be so stressful being a surgeon. My eyebrows furrowed. I was a lawyer, not a surgeon. I looked at Lucia. She pulled her lips back to smile, but the rest of her face was completely still. Alarm bells were ringing in every organ of my body. There was a moment of silence, and that's when Naomi ran to the bathroom to throw up, except there were no vomiting sounds. It sounded like she was just scrolling on TikTok. I didn't want to assume the worst, so I gave my fiancée time to explain herself. Lucia, who is Mike? He's Naomi's boyfriend, she said with a sigh. Why does everything always have to be a fight between us? I couldn't even recall one fight we had, because I always let her have her way, which meant her response was defensive, which meant she was hiding something. I buried my face in my hands, not wanting to face the truth. You just don't trust me because you used to be ugly, and now you think the whole world is out to get you. I didn't show it, but that got to me, and that's when she handed me her phone to look through. She watched as I checked the most obvious places. Instagram DMs, Snapchat, iMessage, they were all clear, but that's when I saw it, an app that looked like it was a calculator. I clicked on it, and sure enough, there was another password barrier to get through. But this time, she didn't offer to unlock it. Instead, she started crying, but I didn't feel bad for her, because as I looked at her, all I saw was hundreds of dollars of makeup running down her face, a Cartier watch that sat on her wrist, a Tiffany diamond ring on her finger, all paid for by me. Disgust filled my body. And when Naomi was done throwing up, I told Lucia to leave with her. But the second they left, I broke down. I thought about all the time and money I poured into our relationship, how I paid off her credit card debt, how I drove her to and from work every day, even if it meant being late to my own job, how I had cut off half my friends to make her feel more comfortable, all so she could destroy it. And that anger is what led me to pay for an Uber to Naomi's house. Lucia was the one to open the door. Why are you always trying to start something? I effing hate you, I interrupted her. You think another man is going to want you now? You think that little guy on your phone is going to provide for you? You're 30, the best years of your life are over. She laughed. Oh, and you think any woman will want you? Every time you touched me, I had to close my eyes and picture someone else. By that point, I had had enough of Lucia. I turned the corner and waited for my Uber to arrive. When I got home, I spent the entire night clutching my pillow, crying until my head was pounding. I woke up the next morning to the sound of my phone buzzing. It was my mom. I didn't pick up. Turns out, it was one of the dozens of calls I had missed. Not just from my mom, but my dad, Lucia, and Naomi too. Turns out, Lucia had told everyone I was abusive, and I had abandoned her. I don't know what to do now. 2 years of my life, thousands of dollars, and my heart, all given to someone who was apparently living a complete lie. I'm sitting here wondering if anything was real, or if I was just a walking ATM for her this whole time. Was it all an elaborate con from the beginning? Did she ever feel anything for me at all? The questions keep circling in my mind with no answers in sight. I decided to get my esh together. I couldn't just sit there feeling sorry for myself while Lucia was out there spreading lies about me. I grabbed my phone and started going through the missed calls. Most were from my mom, so I called her first. She picked up on the first ring. Oh, thank goodness. Are you okay? Lucia called us crying, saying you threatened her and Jennifer last night. I explained what actually happened, finding out about Mike and the hidden app. My mom went quiet for a second, then told me she'd always felt something was off about Lucia, but didn't want to say anything. That made me feel even worse. My own mother had seen red flags I was completely blind to. After talking to my parents, I called my boss to request a few days off. I needed time to sort through this mess. He was surprisingly understanding when I gave him a brief explanation. I guess even in law firms, people have seen their share of relationship disasters. Next, I texted a few close friends to warn them about what was happening. These were the guys I'd distanced myself from because of Lucia. I felt like such an idiot admitting I'd pulled away because of her, but they were cool about it. My buddy Charles even offered to come over with beer and pizza that night. I spent the next few hours making a list of everything Lucia had access to in my life. My apartment keys needed changing. My credit cards needed checking. My social media accounts needed password updates. I was paranoid she might try to mess with my finances or reputation. While checking my bank statements, I noticed something weird. There were several large cash withdrawals I didn't remember making. And I mean large, like $500 here, $700 there. Over the past 6 months, it added up to nearly $10,000. I never carried that much cash, ever. I preferred using my card for the points. Something wasn't adding up. I called the bank, and they confirmed the withdrawals were made with my debit card and PIN. That's when it hit me. Lucia had watched me enter my PIN countless times when we were out shopping. She must have memorized it. I felt sick thinking about her systematically stealing from me while planning our wedding. The bank suggested filing a police report for fraud, but I hesitated. Part of me still couldn't believe Lucia would do this. Maybe there was some explanation? I decided to hold off on the police report until I had more information. Charles showed up around 7 p.m. with the promised pizza and beer. It felt good to have a friend there. We hadn't hung out properly in months, and I realized how much I'd missed normal guy time without having to check in with Lucia every 30 minutes. So she was cheating with some doctor named Mike? Charles asked between bites of pepperoni pizza. I nodded. Apparently. And I think she might have been stealing money from my account too. Charles whistled. Man, that's cold. Have you checked her social media? Might give you some clues. I hadn't thought of that. Lucia and I were connected on all platforms, but I rarely checked her profiles. I pulled out my phone and opened Instagram. Her account was now private, and when I checked, I discovered she'd blocked me. Same with Facebook. That was fast. But Charles had a brilliant idea. He was still friends with her on Facebook. He logged in on my laptop, and we started scrolling through her recent posts and photos. Nothing suspicious at first. Lots of selfies, pictures of food, the occasional motivational quote. Then we found a photo from 3 months ago at a restaurant I didn't recognize. The caption read, "Birthday dinner." But it wasn't her birthday, and I definitely wasn't in the picture. We kept digging and found more inconsistencies. Places she claimed to be when she told me she was working late or visiting her parents. People I'd never heard of commenting with inside jokes. It was like discovering a parallel life she'd been living alongside our relationship. Then we hit the jackpot. A photo from last year where she was tagged at a medical conference. The caption mentioned, "Supporting my man." I zoomed in on the picture and saw her standing next to a tall guy with salt and pepper hair. He looked about 45, well-dressed in an expensive suit. The name tag on his chest read, Dr. Michael Thornton. Holy shit, Charles muttered. That's Mike. I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. This wasn't some recent thing. This photo was from before she even agreed to marry me. I scrolled through the comments and found one from Lucia that read, "Always proud of you, babe." The date stamp showed it was posted when we were already 6 months into our relationship. Charles and I spent the next hour piecing together what we could find. Dr. Michael Thornton was a neurosurgeon at a hospital across town. He was married with 2 kids. There were no public photos of him and Lucia together except for that conference one. But the evidence was mounting that they had some kind of relationship. "So what now?" Charles asked when we finally closed the laptop. "You gonna confront her?" I shook my head. "Not yet. I need more information. And I need to protect myself first." The next morning, I went to the bank and closed my joint account with Lucia. Amen. I opened a new account at a different bank altogether. Then I called a locksmith to change the locks on my apartment. While waiting for the locksmith, I boxed up all of Lucia's things from my place. It wasn't much. Some clothes, makeup, a few books. Our lives weren't as intertwined as I thought. The locksmith had just finished when my phone rang. It was Jennifer. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity got the better of me. "Hey," she said, sounding uncomfortable. "Can we talk? In person?" I agreed to meet her at a coffee shop downtown. Part of me wondered if this was a trap, but I figured a public place would be safe enough. When I arrived, Jennifer was already there, fidgeting with a napkin. She looked nervous. "Thanks for coming," she said when I sat down. "Look, I feel terrible about what happened." I didn't say anything, just waited for her to continue. "Lucia's been seeing Mike for years," she finally admitted. "Since before she met you. He's married, so they keep it quiet. She met you at that dinner and thought you seemed financially stable." The way she hesitated before saying financially stable made it clear what she really meant. Lucia saw me as an easy target, a walking wallet with low self-esteem who would be grateful for her attention. "So everything was a lie?" I asked, my voice surprisingly steady despite the rage building inside me. Jennifer looked down at her coffee. "Not everything. She does like you, just not in the way you thought. Mike gives her excitement, but he'll never leave his wife. You gave her security." I laughed bitterly. "So I was just the backup plan? The safety net?" "Something like that," Jennifer admitted. "But I'm telling you this because she's planning something. After you left last night, she started talking about how she could take you for everything in a divorce. She mentioned something about claiming emotional abuse. That explained the calls to my family. She was setting the stage, creating witnesses who would remember her crying about my abusive behavior." "Why are you telling me this?" I asked suspiciously. "Aren't you supposed to be her best friend?" Jennifer sighed. "We've been friends since college, but this isn't the first time she's done something like this. I've watched her use guys before, but this went too far. You seem like a decent person who didn't deserve this." I thanked Jennifer for the warning and left, my mind racing. If Lucia was planning to claim absy, I needed to protect myself legally. The irony wasn't lost on me. A lawyer needing legal protection. Back at my apartment, I started documenting everything I could remember about our relationship. Dates, events, financial transactions. I pulled bank statements showing the money I'd spent on her. I gathered screenshots of text messages where she asked for money or gifts. I even found emails where she'd thanked me for paying off her credit card debt. Then I remembered something. My building had security cameras in the lobby and elevator. If Lucia tried to claim I was physically abusive, Those tapes would show we never had any altercations. I contacted the building manager and requested they preserve the footage from the past 6 months. My phone kept buzzing with texts from Lucia, alternating between angry accusations and tearful pleas to talk. I ignored them all. Instead, I called a colleague who specialized in family law and arranged to meet her the next day. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about all the signs I'd missed, the mysterious phone calls she'd take in another room, the weekends she couldn't see me because of work events, the way she never invited me to meet her coworkers. I'd been so blinded by my own insecurities that I'd ignored every red flag. The meeting with my colleague, Susan, was eye-opening. She listened to my story without judgment, then laid out my options. Since you're not married yet, this is simpler than a divorce, she explained. But we need to be proactive about these ABZ allegations. False accusations can still damage your reputation and career. She suggested sending a formal letter to Lucia, demanding she cease making false statements about me. She also recommended I gather statements from friends and family who could attest to my character. The goal was to make it clear that if Lucia continued spreading lies, there would be legal consequences. What about the money? I asked. Can I get any of it back? Susan frowned. Gifts are legally considered gifts. The jewelry, clothes, trips, those were given freely. But if you can prove she took money from your account without permission, that's theft. I left Susan's office with a game plan. First step, send the cease and desist letter. Second, gather evidence of the unauthorized withdrawals. Third, build a support network of people who knew the truth. When I got home, there was a package waiting at my door. No return address. Inside was the Tiffany engagement ring I'd given Lucia, along with a note that simply said, "You'll regret this." The threat was clear, but the ring surprised me. It was worth a significant amount of money. Why return it? Then I realized she probably thought keeping it would make her look guilty if this ever went to court. I called Susan immediately to tell her about the note. She advised me to keep it as evidence and document everything. "This is good," she said. "She's showing her true colors." The next day, I went back to work. I needed normalcy and routine. My colleagues were supportive, though I kept the details vague. Just a broken engagement, nothing more. I buried myself in cases, staying late to avoid going home to my empty apartment. Around 7 p.m., I got a call from an unknown number. Against my better judgment, I answered. "Is this the man who's been harassing my wife?" The voice was deep, controlled, but with an undercurrent of anger. "Excuse me?" I replied, genuinely confused. "This is Michael Thornton. Lucia tells me you've been threatening her since she broke off your engagement. I'm giving you one warning to back off." So this was Mike, the surgeon, the married man who'd been sleeping with my fiancée while I paid her bills. "That's interesting," I said, keeping my voice calm. "Lucia told me you were Jennifer's boyfriend. But now you're saying you're married? And that Lucia broke up with me? Seems like someone's story isn't straight." There was a pause on the other end. "What are you talking about? Why don't you ask your girlfriend about the calculator app on her phone? Or about the $10,000 she took from my bank account? Or about the wedding I was paying for?" Another long pause. Then, "I think we need to talk." We agreed to meet the following evening at a bar downtown. I arrived early, chose a table with a clear view of the door, and ordered a club soda. When Mike walked in, I recognized him immediately from the photo. Tall, distinguished, expensive watch glinting on his wrist. He spotted me and came over, his expression unreadable. "You must be the lawyer," he said, sitting down across from me. I nodded. "And you must be the surgeon." We sized each other up for a moment. Then he sighed and ordered a scotch from a passing waitress. "How long have you been with Lucia?" I asked once his drink arrived. "On and off for about 4 years, he replied, taking a sip. "More off than on lately. My wife found out last year, so I've been trying to end it. Lucia doesn't make that easy." I laughed humorlessly. "No, she doesn't. She told me you two dated briefly, but you became obsessive when she tried to break it off. Said you were threatening her, demanding money back from gifts." I pulled out my phone and showed him photos of Lucia and me at various events over the past 2 years. The engagement party, the vacation in Bali, Christmas with my family. His expression darkened with each swipe. "She told me these trips were with girlfriends," he said quietly. "The ring? 3 months' salary," I replied. "She was planning our wedding when your friend Jennifer slipped up and mentioned your name." Mike ran a hand through his hair. "Jennifer's not my friend. She's Lucia's enabler. Always covering for her, creating alibis." We spent the next hour comparing notes. The picture that emerged was disturbing. Lucia had been playing us both, telling Mike she was single and dating casually, telling me she was exclusively mine. She'd been taking money from both of us while creating elaborate lies to keep us apart. "I need to show you something," Mike said, pulling out his own phone. He opened his banking app and showed me regular transfers to Lucia over the past 3 years. She told me she needed help with her mother's medical bills. I shook my head. Her mother is perfectly healthy. I had dinner with her 2 weeks ago. Mike's face hardened. I'd been such a fool. Risking my marriage, my relationship with my kids, all for, what, a con artist? As we talked, I realized Mike wasn't a bad guy. Just another victim of Lucia's manipulation. He genuinely seemed to care for her, though that was clearly fading with each revelation. "What do we do now?" I asked. Mike thought for a moment. "I think we need to confront her. Together. No more hiding, no more manipulation. She needs to face what she's done." We decided to meet at my apartment the next evening and call Lucia together. I wasn't sure what we hoped to accomplish, but at the very least, she would know her game was up. The next day dragged by. I was distracted at work, checking the clock every few minutes. When I finally got home, Mike was already waiting outside my building. We went up to my apartment and sat at the kitchen table, both nervous about what was to come. I called Lucia on speakerphone. She answered on the third ring. "Finally ready to apologize?" she said, her voice smug. "Actually, I'm here with Mike," I replied. "We've been having an interesting conversation." There was silence on the other end. Then, I don't know what you're talking about. Mike spoke up. Cut the crap, Lucia. We know everything. The lies, the manipulation, the money. It's over. Mike? Her voice changed completely, becoming softer, vulnerable. He's lying to you. Whatever he said, save it, Mike interrupted. I've seen the evidence. The engagement photos, the vacation pictures, the wedding plans. While you were telling me you needed space because of your mother's illness, you were planning a wedding with another man. And while you were telling me I was your first everything, I added, you were still seeing the married man you'd been with for years. Lucia's breathing was audible through the phone. You don't understand. I love you both. In different ways. Mike, you know how special what we have is. And had. Mike corrected. What we had. It's done. And what about the money? I asked. The withdrawals from my account? The credit card debt I paid off? Was that love too? You offered to help me, she snapped, her sweet tone vanishing. Nobody forced you to spend money on me. That's not a crime. Actually, I said, taking money from someone's account without permission is a crime. It's called theft. Good luck proving that, she scoffed. You gave me your PIN. You let me use your card. Any judge would see it as gifts between an engaged couple. She wasn't wrong. It would be hard to prove those withdrawals weren't authorized. But that wasn't the point anymore. We're not calling to threaten legal action, Mike said. We're calling to let you know we're both done being manipulated. No more lies, no more money, no more chances. And, I added, if you continue telling people I was abusive, I have security footage from my building showing that's a lie. Plus witnesses who can testify to your character and history of deception. There was a long pause. Then Lucia's voice came back, cold and hard. You'll regret this, both of you. Nobody humiliates me and gets away with it. The call ended. Mike and I sat in silence for a moment, processing what had just happened. That went about as well as expected, Mike finally said with a grim smile. I nodded. At least it's done. No more hiding, no more lies. Mike left shortly after, heading home to try to repair his marriage. We exchanged numbers, promising to warn each other if Lucia tried anything else. It was a strange alliance, but I felt better knowing I wasn't facing this alone anymore. The next few days were quiet, too quiet. No calls or texts from Lucia, no more accusations to my family. I started to think maybe it was really over. I focused on work, reconnected with friends, and tried to move on. The embarrassment of being conned still stung, but at least I discovered the truth before saying, I do. Then the reviews started appearing. 1-star ratings for my law firm, specifically mentioning me by name. Claims that I was unprofessional, that I had made inappropriate comments to female clients, that I had mishandled cases. They were appearing on Google, Yelp, everywhere potential clients might look. I knew immediately it was Lucia. The timing was too perfect, and she knew exactly how important my professional reputation was to me. My boss called me into his office, concerned about the sudden flood of negative reviews. I had to explain the whole situation, showing him evidence that these were fake reviews from a vengeful ex. He was understanding but worried about the impact on the firm. These things can spread like wildfire, he warned. We need to get ahead of it. We hired an online reputation management company to help flag and remove the fake reviews. I also filed a police report about the harassment, though I knew it probably wouldn't lead to much. Still, I wanted an official record in case things escalated, and escalate they did. The next morning, I woke up to dozens of notifications on my phone. Someone had created a fake profile using my name and photo on a dating app, claiming I was looking for discreet encounters with married women. The profile included my work information and cell phone number. My phone had been blowing up with messages all night. I spent hours reporting the fake profile and changing my phone number. I was angry, exhausted, and starting to feel genuinely afraid of what Lucia might do next. This wasn't just petty revenge anymore. She was actively trying to destroy my life. I called Mike to warn him, but he was already dealing with his own problems. Lucia had somehow gotten his wife's email address and sent her a detailed account of their affair, including photos he didn't even know existed. His marriage was hanging by a thread, and he was sleeping in his office while trying to convince his wife to give him another chance. She's out of control, he told me, his voice ragged with stress. This isn't just being hurt or angry. This is calculated destruction. I agreed. This was beyond normal breakup behavior. Lucia was systematically attacking every aspect of our lives with frightening precision, and I had no idea how to make it stop. That's when I remembered Jennifer. She had warned me about Lucia's plans, shown a glimmer of conscience. Maybe she could help again. I called the number she'd used to contact me before. I can't talk to you, she said immediately. Lucia knows I warned you. She's furious. Please, I begged. She's destroying my reputation, my career. She's going after Mike's family. This has to stop. Jennifer was quiet for a moment. Meet me at the coffee shop in an hour. Don't tell anyone. When I arrived, Jennifer was already there, looking nervous. She kept glancing at the door, as if expecting Lucia to burst in at any moment. I don't have much time, she said as I sat down. But there's something you should know. Lucia's done this before. I leaned forward, my coffee forgotten. What do you mean she's done this before? Jennifer glanced around the coffee shop again, then lowered her voice. This isn't her first time running this scam. There was a guy before you, and one before Mike too. She finds successful men with low self-esteem, makes them fall for her, then bleeds them dry. My stomach dropped. So I wasn't special at all. Nobody is to her, Jennifer said, fidgeting with her napkin. She targets guys who she thinks won't fight back when things go south. Guys who are so grateful for her attention that they'll put up with anything. That stung, but I couldn't deny the truth in it. I've been so pathetically grateful that a beautiful woman wanted me that I'd ignored every red flag. The last guy, Jennifer continued, he almost culled himself when he found out. That's when I started feeling like maybe this had gone too far. Jesus, I muttered. Why are you still friends with her? Jennifer looked down. We've known each other since we were kids, and honestly, she has dirt on me too. Stuff I don't want getting out. Classic manipulation. Lucia kept people close by having leverage over them. So what do? I asked. She's trying to destroy my career, my reputation, everything. There's a storage unit, Jennifer said, sliding a key across the table. Unit 247 at Safe Store on Maple Street. Lucia keeps everything there. Journals, photos, records of her scams. She's meticulous about documenting everything, like it's some kind of trophy collection. I stared at the key. Why would you give me this? Because I'm tired of watching her hurt people, Jennifer said, standing up. And because she's getting worse. More vindictive. More dangerous. Someone needs to stop her before she really ruins someone's life. She left quickly, looking over her shoulder as she went. I sat there for a few minutes, turning the key over in my hands. This felt too easy. Was it a trap? But what choice did I have? I drove to the storage facility that afternoon. It was one of those places with rows of identical orange doors and minimal security. I found Unit 247 and hesitated before putting the key in the lock. If Lucia caught me here, she'd probably call the police. But I needed evidence to protect myself. The lock clicked open. I pulled up the door to reveal a small, neat space. There were plastic bins stacked along one wall, each labeled with a man's name. I saw Mike on one. And there, on a bin in the corner, was my name. I opened my bin first. Inside were photos of me, printouts of my social media profiles, and a notebook filled with details about my life, where I worked, my salary, my family connections, even my medical history. It was like looking at a serial killer's research on a victim. There were also printouts of my bank statements and a list of all the gifts and money she'd gotten from me, with a running total at the bottom. The final number made me feel sick. I checked Mike's bin next. Same setup. Detailed notes, financial records, photos. Then I noticed other bins with names I didn't recognize. I opened one labeled Joseph. Inside was a similar collection, but this one included newspaper clippings about a suicide attempt. This must be the guy Jennifer mentioned. I took photos of everything with my phone, documenting the contents of each bin. This was evidence of a systematic pattern of fraud and manipulation. I wasn't just some jealous ex making things up. Lucia was a con artist who had done this multiple times. As I was photographing the last bin, I heard a car door slam outside. I froze. Through the small gap in the door, I could see Lucia walking toward the unit, phone in hand. My heart started pounding. I was trapped. I quickly closed all the bins and looked around for somewhere to hide. The unit was small with nowhere to conceal myself. I noticed a gap between the back wall and the last row of bins, maybe just big enough for me to squeeze into. I slid into the space, pressing myself against the wall as the door rolled up. Lucia walked in, talking on her phone. "No, I'm telling you, he's not going to be a problem anymore," she was saying. The fake dating profile was genius. His firm is already getting calls about it. He'll be too busy saving his job to bother us. She paused, listening to whoever was on the other end. "Mike, please. His wife will never forgive him now. I made sure of that. Besides, I've already got someone new lined up. A dentist. Divorced. Desperate. Perfect." My blood boiled hearing her talk so callously about ruining our lives. I stayed perfectly still as she opened a bin and rifled through it, pulling out some papers. "I've got to go. I'll call you later with an update on the new guy." She hung up and spent a few more minutes organizing things in the bins. Then she left, rolling the door down behind her. I waited until I heard her car drive away before coming out of my hiding spot. My legs were cramping from standing so still, but adrenaline was pumping through me. I grabbed my phone and took more photos, making sure to capture everything clearly. Then I carefully put everything back exactly as I found it and left, locking the unit behind me. Back in my car, I called Mike. "You're not going to believe what I just found." I drove straight to his office and showed him the photos. His face went from confused to shocked to angry as he scrolled through them. "She's been doing this for years," he said, handing back my phone. "We're not special cases. We're just marks. We need to take this to the police," I said. "This is organized fraud." Mike nodded. "I'll go with you. But first, I need to show these to my wife. She needs to see that I wasn't the only one being manipulated." We agreed to meet at the police station in 2 hours. I went home first to organize the evidence and prepare what I was going to say. As I was sorting through the photos on my laptop, I got a text from an unknown number. "I know what you did. Meet me at the park, or I send these to everyone you know." Attached was a photo of me entering the storage unit. My stomach dropped. Had Lucia set up a camera? Was Jennifer working with her the whole time? I texted back asking who it was, but got no response. I called Mike. "I think I'm being blackmailed." "By who?" he asked. "I don't know. Someone has photos of me at the storage unit." Mike was quiet for a moment. "It's a bluff. What are they going to do? Tell people you found evidence of Lucia's scams? Go to the police anyway. I'll meet you there." He was right. Even if someone had photos of me at the unit, I hadn't done anything illegal. I'd used a key given to me by someone with access. I decided to ignore the text and stick to the plan. At the police station, I filed a report about the fraud, the harassment, and the fake profiles. The officer taking my statement seemed skeptical at first, but the evidence was compelling. The storage unit photos showed a clear pattern of targeting multiple victims. The officer said they would investigate and might want to speak with the other men named in Lucia's files. As we were leaving, Mike got a call from his wife. He stepped outside to take it, leaving me in the lobby. Through the glass doors, I could see his expression change from tense to relieved. When he came back in, he was almost smiling. "She believes me," he said. "Seeing those files, knowing there were others, it helped her understand I wasn't just some cheating a-hole. I was targeted. I was happy for him. But it also highlighted how alone I was in all this. Mike had a family to go back to. I had an empty apartment and a damaged reputation. The next morning, I woke up to a flood of notifications again. But this time, they were different. The fake dating profile had been taken down. The negative reviews of my firm were being removed. And there was an email from Lucia. I know what you found. Back off, or I release everything I have on you. I forwarded the email to the police officer handling my case, then called Jennifer. She knows, I said when she answered. About the storage unit. Of course she does, Jennifer replied, sounding tired. I told her. I felt like I'd been punched. You what? Why would you do that? Because I needed her to know it wasn't me who broke into her unit. The key went missing from my place and she immediately suspected me. So you threw me under the bus? I was furious. I told her it must have been you who took it, Jennifer admitted. I'm sorry. I panicked. I hung up, too angry to continue the conversation. Jennifer had used me as a shield to protect herself. Just like Lucia, she only cared about saving her own skin. I spent the day checking in with the police and my firm's IT department, making sure all the fake reviews were being addressed. My boss was supportive once he understood the situation, but I could tell the whole thing had damaged his trust in me. Drama wasn't good for business. That evening, my doorbell rang. I checked the peephole, half expecting to see Lucia standing there. Instead, it was a young woman I didn't recognize. She was maybe mid-20s, with short blonde hair and glasses. Can I help you? I asked through the door, not opening it. My name is Riley, she said. I'm Joseph's sister. Joseph, the name from one of the storage bins. The guy who had attempted S-icide. I opened the door. How did you find me? The police called my brother about a fraud case involving Lucia Martinez. He's still recovering, so I came instead. I invited her in, keeping the door open for safety. She sat on my couch, looking around nervously. Is it true? She asked. Did she do the same thing to you that she did to my brother? I nodded and gave her a brief version of what had happened. As I talked, Riley's expression hardened. Joseph lost everything, she said when I finished. His savings, his job, almost his life. And she just moved on to the next victim like nothing happened. I'm sorry, I said, not knowing what else to say. Don't be sorry, Riley replied. Be angry. She needs to be stopped. Over the next hour, Riley told me about her brother's experience with Lucia. The pattern was identical. Love bombing, financial exploitation, then vicious retaliation when he discovered the truth. Joseph had been so devastated that he'd swallowed a bottle of pills. He survived, but was still dealing with depression and trust issues. The police didn't take him seriously, Riley said. They said it was just a bad breakup, that he gave her the money willingly. But now, with multiple victims coming forward, they have to listen, I finished. Riley nodded. Exactly. That's why I'm here, to tell you not to back down, no matter what she threatens. After Riley left, I felt a new determination. This wasn't just about me anymore. It was about all of Lucia's victims, past, present, and future. She needed to be held accountable. The next day, I got a call from the police officer handling my case. They had interviewed Mike and were trying to reach the other men from the storage unit files. They also wanted to bring Lucia in for questioning. We've seen cases like this before, the officer told me. Romance scams, they call them. Usually targeting older people, but the pattern's the same. I thanked him for taking it seriously and hung up feeling cautiously optimistic. The legal system was slow, but at least things were moving forward. That afternoon, I was at work when my phone buzzed with a text from Mike. Turn on Channel 7 News now. I pulled up the local news website on my computer and nearly fell out of my chair. There was Lucia, being led out of her apartment in handcuffs. The headline read, Local woman arrested in connection with multiple fraud cases. I turned up the volume as the reporter explained that police had executed a search warrant on Lucia's apartment and storage unit, finding evidence of systematic fraud targeting multiple victims. They estimated the total amount stolen exceeded $200,000. My phone started blowing up with texts from friends who had seen the news. Even my parents called to check if I was okay. It was surreal seeing my private nightmare splashed across the local news. Later that evening, Mike called to tell me his wife had agreed to couples counseling. It's a start, he said, better than where we were a week ago. I'm glad, I told him, genuinely happy that at least something good might come from this mess. The next few weeks were a blur of police interviews, meetings with the district attorney, and slowly rebuilding my reputation at work. The fake reviews were gone, and my boss had been understanding, but I still felt like I had to prove myself all over again. Lucia was charged with multiple counts of fraud and harassment. Her lawyer tried to paint it as simple relationship misunderstandings, but the evidence from the storage unit was damning. The DA was confident she would face serious consequences. I also filed a civil suit to try to recover some of the money she'd taken from me. My lawyer warned me not to expect much. Lucia had spent most of what she stole, but it felt important to try. 1 month after Lucia's arrest, I met up with Mike for a drink. We'd developed an unlikely friendship through this whole ordeal. How's the wife? I asked as we settled into a booth. Better, he said. We're working through it. The kids still don't know the whole story, but they're adjusting to having me back home. And work? He shrugged. Some colleagues saw the news. There are whispers, but nothing I can't handle. You? Getting back to normal, I said. No more fake profiles or one-star reviews, at least. We sat in comfortable silence for a moment, sipping our drinks. You know, Mike said finally, in a weird way, I'm almost grateful this happened. It forced me to be honest with my wife about everything. We're actually communicating better than we have in years. I nodded. Silver linings, I guess. For me, the silver lining was harder to see. I'd lost money, time, and trust, but I had gained something too, a new awareness of my own worth. I wasn't desperate for validation anymore. I'd rather be alone than with someone who saw me as a walking ATM. You'll find someone better, Mike said, as if reading my thoughts. Someone real, maybe, I said, but I'm in no rush. The following week, I got a call from Riley. Her brother Joseph wanted to meet me. We arranged to have coffee, and when I saw him, I was struck by how much he reminded me of myself. The same hunched shoulders, the same wary eyes. I wanted to thank you, he said, after we'd been talking for a while, for going to the police, for not giving up. I should be thanking you, I replied. Knowing about you and the others gave me the courage to fight back. Joseph smiled slightly. We should start a support group. Survivors of Lucia. I laughed, surprised at how good it felt. With matching t-shirts? Absolutely. And a secret handshake. We ended up talking for hours, swapping stories and advice. Joseph was further along in his healing journey and had insights that helped me process my own experience. By the time we parted, we'd exchanged numbers and promised to stay in touch. 6 months later, Lucia pleaded guilty to reduced charges in exchange for a shorter sentence. She got 3 years, with eligibility for parole after 18 months. Not as much as she deserved, but something. I got back about 30% of what she'd taken from me through the civil suit. The rest was gone, spent on designer clothes, fancy restaurants, and who knows what else. I decided to donate half of what I recovered to a nonprofit that educated people about romance scams. It felt like the right thing to do. As for me, I'm doing okay. I still have trust issues, still flinch when someone compliments me too enthusiastically, but I'm working on it. I reconnected with old friends, started playing basketball again on weekends, even went on a few casual dates. I'll never be grateful for what happened with Lucia. She took advantage of my insecurities and nearly destroyed my life. But I did learn something important. My worth isn't determined by whether someone loves me, and real love, when it eventually comes, won't make me feel like I need to buy it. For now, I'm focusing on building a life I enjoy, with or without a partner. And if someone does come along who sees me for who I really am, ugly duckling history and all, well, that would be nice too. But this time, I'll be watching for red flags instead of ignoring them. And that calculator app, first thing I check for now.